I don't think when somebody comes in to get a vaccine, I don't think they're totally given all the information that they should get when they are, walking in to get a vaccine. And I think this incentive, this program, is to almost like you're hawking people. Come on in, you're going to get it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It almost builds up the distrust. Wait a minute, you want me to take a vaccine and you're offering me a TV to take a vaccine? Yeah. What the hell is that all about?
Well, let's try something different. George, you used to have your own show, didn't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce the show tonight? Come on.
Well, welcome everybody to Talking Racine. Over to my far right is Jim Spodek, who is the major instigator of the show. Then we have...
I'm the centrist.
He's the one that digs out the stuff and brings it for Doc and me to talk about. And to my right is Ken Jorgen, Dr. Ken Jorgen, who is to the chief analyst. And I'm just here for my good looks.
You know what this means, right? You're on the far left.
Yeah. Actually, from their viewpoint, I'm on the far right.
All right. Well, thank you, George. I appreciate that. And we're back, and we're going to talk tonight, this morning. I still lose track of that sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to talk about some of the shenanigans that took place during the election and some of the weird things that we just don't understand why people are doing some of this stuff. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And, well, when I start talking about crazy stuff that's going on in the city of Racine, I can't help but give a little shout out to our mayor, Corey Mason, who's been so involved in, good God, everything. Now, but we got a little bit of video here that we're going to share. We always like to share a little bit of video. It's kind of a launch point. What is this one about, Jim?
This is about the incentives the City of Racine is giving to vaccinate citizens of the City of Racine, to stimulate it, and giving away 65-inch televisions and Chromebooks and pay a rent for a month. So these are the incentives, and it's I think Channel 12 did a little.
Didn't they get like $10,000?
Yeah.
How many months worth of rent can they pay out of $10,000?
Well, apparently the city put in $5,000, and the county got in $5,000 for these incentives to get people vaccinated. But I'll play the video, we'll come back, and then we'll
Good idea.
Vaccination numbers have been dropping in Racine, but local officials hope they found a way to get more shots in arms.
Anybody who's here right now could enter the contest today.
The city and county are putting up a total of $10,000 in prizes, everything from iPads and big screen TVs to utility bill payments and even 1 month's rent. And anyone who gets a COVID vaccine at a city or county clinic during the next month is eligible.
I just heard about that, so that's exciting. So it's anything to do to encourage people to come out and get their first and or second vaccines.
It works for every store that puts out something extra for you coming in and shop. So I wouldn't see why it wouldn't work here as well.
Currently, 45% of Racine County residents have had at least one shot, and it's just 40% in the city of Racine. And Mayor Mason believes the incentive program can boost those numbers.
If you think about like what one hospitalization would cost for COVID, a $10,000 investment, 5 from the county, 5 from the city, seems like a pretty good return on investment, and it helps keep everyone safe.
The goal is 3,000 shots over the next month. But there is a catch. Because the goal is to get more shots in arms, if not enough people take part, the incentive program could change.
If for some reason it was, not a great success, we might extend the time or hold off.
But he's optimistic the incentive program will convince enough people to get their shot to reach that goal, perhaps well ahead of the scheduled prize drawing on July 20th.
That's always worth a shot.
And that's exactly what local leaders are banking on. In Racine, I'm Kent Wainscott, WISN 12 News.
Milwaukee County health officials said today they will look at Racine's incentive program and consider whether to try something similar in Milwaukee.
That was cute. It's worth a shot.
Yeah.
That was the best line in that whole thing.
Oh, man.
Now, what the heck is the deal? It's like, we're going to give you an incentive to go and get the vaccination. It's kind of like, I'll give you $5 to cross the street blindfolded.
Yeah.
But if you get hit, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Now, there are risks with the vaccinations. There are risks with not getting a vaccination. Why can't they just come out and honestly explain the risks on both sides and let people decide what is best for them in their life.
Well, the problem with that, Doc, is very simple. Makes too much sense. You can't just let people make their own decisions and things like that. I mean,
Well, like you guys haven't been vaccinated.
You got to be
I've
pushed
been
and shoved
vaccinated.
around a little bit. Yeah,
I did it because in my world, I looked at it. I looked at the risks both ways, and I decided that for me, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
You guys decided I don't want to do it.
Right.
And we're still friends, aren't we?
Yeah, we never wore masks either.
We had a heated discussion before the show, but
It's all right. It takes the edge off.
yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
here's the deal. I'm looking at it a little differently. I'm looking at it from the legal standpoint that you're giving incentives to get a vaccination. Now, like you said, there's some has adverse reactions to it, and there are issues out there. Now, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of different things. Exactly what it is, I don't know. But when the City of Racine is giving these vaccinations and they're incentivizing it, I know there's a consent form that they sign and say, if anything happens, we're not responsible for it, whatever. That consent form means nothing. The trial lawyer will blow that out of the water so fast it'll be like cheesecloth.
In other words, you're saying that it's quite possible that the city could be exposing itself to lawsuits somewhere down the road.
I think it's definitely doing itself.
And why do we keep doing that?
Where is the city attorney? I mean, to me, this doesn't make any sense. Like you said, if you want the vaccination, you get the vaccination. If you don't, you don't. You can weigh that out. Now, when you get a little deeper into this, there's already lawsuits already coming up. Some of them are from universities that are requiring vaccinations, and there's lawsuits popping up from it. I think the city of Racine is setting themselves up. And I think when you go into a courtroom and you say, well, Your Honor, the city of Racine incentivized this individual who had a reaction to it and has some permanent damage, and we're asking the city of Racine to cover this poor person's costs.
Hey, and not everybody gets in it. This is like a raffle.
Yeah, this is
You
like
get a vaccine, you
Right.
get in the raffle.
So-
There's no guarantee you're going to get any kind of
Well,
prize.
this consent form was put out. Well, I didn't realize. I was hoping to get that 65-inch television set. That's why I got
Because
it.
you're 65 right here.
Right. And I think that you're going to find that the universities and employers and all the rest are going to be up against the wall here because Big Pharma isn't responsible. They've written this off right from the beginning through the federal government, and again, has the supplier of these vaccinations, be it the City of Racine or the grocery store, it sounds like almost anybody but your mechanic can almost get your vaccination now. Are they explaining the pros and cons? I mean, when you break down into the actual, what the Secretary of Health, when the emergency use authorization requires information on not only this vaccination, what the effects could be of the vaccination, good and bad, and alternatives. Was all that being explained? I just don't see it. And I think this is a huge issue. I think trial lawyers are already meeting, figuring out how they're going to go sue. And I think the city received, and I blame the city attorney. He should be all over this already. This should have never happened. This incentivizing for vaccinations, I think, is a bad idea.
Well, I got a cynical viewpoint. I think Corey likes to spend money. He likes to be the daddy who's, handing out the allowance at the end of the week. Here, go buy yourself a Tootsie Roll.
So you think it's more voter driven? Like I'm gonna take care of you. You're gonna vote for me because I made sure you get your.
Yeah, it's a form of politicizing the issue. I think. Otherwise, why aren't they just explaining? You don't get the vaccine. Here's your risks. You do get the vaccine. These are your other risks.
Right.
Just tell people what's going on. Let them decide. It's too simple, I guess.
Well, and if they had a good product, which I don't think they do, but Doc, you think they do because you got the vaccine.
Yeah, the one that I got, I felt was it was less risky for me to get it than it was to expose myself to COVID.
Okay, and whatever communications you received, whatever information you received was enough so you went ahead and voluntarily got the vaccine. Jim and I haven't had the same experience. I mean, what I have heard about it and what's been communicated to me about it, as well as my own closeness to actually, I think I might have had it type of thing where I think I might have the antibodies. And
well,
so
you said that your wife was quite ill for a while.
She had before it became a big thing. Yeah, but this was in March. Before it became a big deal. It was around April is when it was really starting to explode. And so I very likely had it, and in no time was I quarantining myself. I was never masked up or anything like that, so I was constantly in communication with a lot of people. I deal in property management, so I'm at different people's houses and stuff like that.
Well, and just to make sure that people know that you're not irresponsible with this, you would have no reason to suspect that you had something that was considered to be a pandemic-producing virus.
No,
you just didn't feel good for a while. Your wife was quite ill for a while, right?
Yeah, well, my wife was and coughed. It seemed like forever. You know, and she just doesn't get sick like that. I got a little feverish about 7 o'clock one night. I started taking tons of vitamin D and vegetable vitamins, and by about 2 in the morning, I suddenly was recovered.
Perked up a little bit.
Yeah, I suddenly he was gone. No. So I felt that I'd gone through something there, and later on, I thought when I found out about what the things were with the virus, you know, that it sounds like all the symptoms my wife had. So it sounded like, wow, I might have actually had it myself. And as long as I didn't feel sick, I remember guys, long before the COVID, when I came to one of our meetings with a mask on. You guys, I don't know if you remember that, but I came with a mask on because I had the flu. Now this was years ago, but so when I didn't want to come here and just be infecting everybody, so I went and came to our meeting. But at the same time, when I'm feeling good, I don't feel like I've got the disease, so why wouldn't I go around? But the point is I was being exposed to a lot of other people, and I was never during this whole period got sick. So I felt that why should I get a vaccine?
Well, there's a good chance that you've built up antibodies.
I think so.
You may have an immunity at this point. But on the other hand, let's talk about him for a minute, because you were laid up for a few days.
Yeah, a couple days. Yeah. But this was again before all of it, and I actually had some Korean guys who actually, I think I got it from them. They were sick as a dog, and I had dinner with them, and I think I got it from them. But yeah, I was sick. I was sick for. I was.
And that
actually,
was before it was actually announced too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the point is back to communication, which we're really trying to get across here. Is if the city is any good at communicating ideas and information and that type of stuff, that should be good enough. Just like you're saying, like that. And if you haven't got a good product and a good reason to buy your product, don't expect a sale. And for some of us, it wasn't a good enough product. And there was not enough reason to do it, so we're not taking the vaccine.
But here's the thing.
It's the other way around.
I don't think it's being... I don't think when somebody comes in to get a vaccine, I don't think they're totally given all the information that they should get when they are walking in to get a vaccine. And I think this incentive, this program, is to almost like you're hawking people. Come on in, you're going to get it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It almost built up the distrust. Wait a minute, you want me to take a vaccine and you're offering me a TV to take a vaccine?
Yeah.
What the hell is that all about?
Not even a TV.
Why are you doing that? And if only 40% of the people in the city have gotten them, maybe it's not the greatest idea to.
But then on the other hand, my wife's kids work in hospitals, and they've been exposed to the people that are, like in Detroit. The one son works in Detroit, and he says this is a horrible disease.
I agree.
If it hits you hard and you're susceptible, man, it'll take you down in a hurry. You fought it off. You probably fought it off. And there's a lot of people who, obviously have died as a result of getting it. So you got to weigh that as a danger.
Well, the other thing is, one of the things that I think is going to be a real issue coming up is universities that come in and say you have to, before you can take classes at this university, you have to be vaccinated. I think these universities are setting themselves up for a huge lawsuits.
I hope so.
And I think it's going to happen. And it's already, there are already lawsuits out there. Indiana,
If it's a private university, I think they probably.
I don't know, George. I mean,
if it's supported by taxes, though, that's a different story.
Well, here's where.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's part of it. I really believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen. Here's an example: pregnant woman, or a woman that's breastfeeding. I mean, they never tested it on any of them. Now, they don't usually do trials and test it because it is questionable. But is that brought to someone's attention? Are you pregnant? Are you breastfeeding?
I think they do ask those questions.
You think that at Meijer's grocery that they're asking?
Oh, at the grocery store.
Let's face it. But I'm just saying, these businesses. I mean, I think this is just the first wave of what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
And for the City of Racine to step into this the way they have, I really question the legal department of the City of Racine and the county. The county puts money into it. I mean, I just...
It's not Halloween candy. They shouldn't
exactly.
be passing it out the way
And we're
they
talking
do.
about a serious illness, and we're talking about medication, dispensing medication for this illness. Only giving away a 65-inch television set that fits in there anyway.
What make is it? Is it a Panasonic, a Sony? What?
It's
a
just
Smitlock?
right.
You get a
Somehow they don't
65-inch
fit.
Smitlock TV.
I just
Or a 3 months rent.
yeah.
You know what they ought to be doing, and I've talked about this a little bit before. If they're going to do a lottery, why don't they do something that makes sense? I'd like to see the Racine lottery, where to give away $5,000 a week. Pull a resident or a taxpayer's name out of the hat. You get a card for $5,000 if you win. You can spend it at any business in Racine that's participating in the program. It'll boost the economy. And that $250,000 is what? That's about how much it would cost
That's
for
a
a year.
vote-mobile.
Yeah.
It's a vote-mobile.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Or
you know?
we would have to go without a vote-mobile. If we're gonna
What
do
would
that,
you
Doc.
rather have? Would you rather have a chance at $5,000?
I want the vote-mobile.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes, that elusive entity, the vote-mobile, and Jim?
We found it.
Yeah. Well, somebody found it, got a hold
Yeah.
of you, and actually...
Actually, I got a picture of it. It was apparently delivered to the City of Racine, and it was the $250,000 vote mobile.
It's beautiful.
Very nice. I'll show a picture. We'll put a picture up. And so, again, this is the Zuckerberg money that was apparently for COVID. Now the $250,000 of it shows up, after the election.
Yeah, it was supposed to be to get the vote out for last November, right? And now they're finally getting it?
Right. So, now during this period of time, of course, the City of Racine, and we brought it up on the show, was sued by the Amistad Project, and all 5 cities were, and said that the Zuckerberg money, the private money that was dispensed to the 5 cities, they said was not illegal, because that's the city's argument, saying, hey, we didn't do anything illegal, even though it was supposed to be used for COVID by Zuckerberg's contract. Mm-hmm. What the Amistad said was, you signed a contract with a clawback in it, which is illegal, and only Congress and state legislature can have legal authority to place conditions on federal elections in Wisconsin. That's the whole thrust of this argument, is that Facebook had interjected itself into these cities to put conditions on the election, and they're saying you can't do it. Now that's in court now, and that's one of the
No,
cities.
they're saying what they're saying is that it's okay. It was okay for us to take this money, right?
That's what the city's
That's
saying.
what they're
Right.
saying. It's okay to take
Right.
this money, and you're saying, well, the fallacy to that is, yeah, they can take money, but when it comes with conditions, now it becomes illegal.
Correct.
And the important thing is, even if nothing was done bad
Right.
during the election, it set a precedent.
Correct.
And that's what the Amistad Project is about, is like, that is not a precedent that should be established. Because next time,
Right. Well,
Could be
you never.
different.
Yeah, exactly. And then what conditions are? Well, only a certain segment of the population on the north side of town can vote. I mean, these things could set these precedents that you don't want. Now, they're not fighting about, what the money went for. They really zeroed it in, and that's the argument. You cannot put conditions on an election. And so that's the fight. And I happen to agree with it. Now, the city, of course, is saying, no, we did nothing wrong. It's all fine.
Let me just you bring up a little point here. In a different state, a place called Georgia, they were saying the same thing about their election. This is the most honest election we've ever had. People are going in and challenging it. And what are the election officials doing now? They are lawyering up. And they aren't getting just regular lawyers. They're getting criminal defense lawyers to protect them against these. Why should you be worried? Why should you need a criminal defense lawyer if this was the most honest election we'd ever had? So it's one thing to say we didn't do anything wrong and everything, there was no effect to the outcome of doing this. It's another thing to defend it.
Well, you get a criminal defense lawyer when you're accused of a crime.
Right.
When you're accused of a crime, doesn't necessarily mean you're guilty of a crime. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more people than there already are in prison.
Well, they're really worried there. They're getting because they're being accused of a crime now. And then if it was just honest and straightforward, I mean, why aren't they just someone to defend against
Okay, assuming guilt there.
No, let's go back to we go back to the city attorney. You're telling me the city attorney did not understand the fact that you have a clawback clause in this contract with the Facebook money. It was obvious. I mean, hell, we got it. Yeah. We looked at it. So the city attorney said, "Oh, that's okay. It's not legal." Where was the city attorney? Is one of my questions.
Well, what is going to happen if they say next time they say, "Well, we're going to give you $500,000, but we want everybody that votes to go through the voting process with their left hand on top of their head."
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing.
It's not that big of an inconvenience. Put your hand up there. Just try it. You know? Oh, come on. You want to vote, don't you?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. I really question the attorney's office. Where the heck are these guys? I mean, where are they? They're supposed to do their duty is to fiduciary responsibility is to protect the taxpayers from outside problems. A lot of times lawsuits. Again, now
they should also know. The city attorney should know, and the clerk should know, and anybody running the election officials, who is in charge of the election, should know that it is the state legislature. It's the law that they're following. They have to learn these laws to do that. And when this money comes in and says, "Well, no, you have to do this over here," the lock boxes is one of the things, which was an illegal activity. And for them to start making changes in the election procedures because of this money, and now you're violating election law, and they should know that. They should just know that this was. In fact, there was a clerk up in Green Bay that quit her job because she knew it was going on, and she found out she was losing control of the election. He says, "I'm out of here."
Right.
And
Kenosha, that happened in Kenosha too. Now, again, I just go back to this city attorney.
The point is that somebody knew it was illegal. The people
How does it go through,
illegal.
George? How does it go through? Now you're telling me they're not that ignorant to this.
Why is the attorney saying nothing bad happened? Nothing bad happened. What are you complaining about?
This isn't going to go away.
He doesn't understand precedent.
Exactly.
He doesn't understand the law.
Well, I think what happened was. Yeah, I agree, but I just think they figure, well, we'll slip it past them. I mean, they've done a lot of that in the City of Racine, and it'll just kind of go away, and people won't.
Well, they're going to find out, because there are some results that have come out that said that there's some illegal people were voting, and
I agree,
and there were some votes that were illegal and that type of stuff, and so it wasn't just a matter of, well, we just did something different. Nothing came about of it. No, there were also some corruptive votes that were going through Wisconsin, and it's considered one of the dirtier states of the battleground states. So it wasn't like there was just no consequence to it, and when it came to the actual votes that were being cast.
Well, have they found like a bunch of fraudulent votes?
There have been allegations of it. There's been witnesses of it.
Allegations.
Now, right, but the point is what they're trying to do is get it through the courts so that they can go in, just like we're doing with the Racine Unified School District with our vote.
Yeah.
You know, we have allegations of it. I said, you know, yeah, no, wait a minute. We had these votes and they made these changes. How did you come out with that result? Well, right now, all that is an allegation. Until I can get in there and actually look at those votes and do an investigation, that's all it is, just like you said. It's just an allegation. But I think I should have the right to look at the votes, and then I can prove it. But and that's the same thing with these. They're allegations. But right now, no, there is no proof because the courts have blocked it.
Well, here's the other thing. We can just go a little further into this. Now, let's just take this lawsuit that Amistad is challenged the 5 cities with. What about? We brought this up on other shows. There's state statutes that were violated by the City of Racine. One being Corey Mason injecting himself into the clerk's office. That's a violation of state statute. There's a number of them. How does the city attorney let that happen? It's happening right in City Hall.
Yeah.
How does this go?
Gee, I can't imagine how he let that happen.
Yeah. But I mean,
I know what you're
there's
saying.
some
You're
issues here.
You're saying that hypothetically, yeah, but it's obvious that they're working on they have their own political motivations and they're just
and of course the Common
Council,
Council,
things like that. Common Council is full of bobbleheads, except maybe one.
They're not even in the game anymore.
Yeah.
I think the legal department just repeatedly exposes the city and the citizens to lawsuits.
Gee,
and there's
it's the funniest thing. We sure get a lot of lawsuits. You're right on that, Doc. I mean,
and I think they're going to start. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen. I mean, this is a fairly, I don't call it mundane, but it's basically they're challenging the statute or the legislature not having the control of the conditions of a contract. To me, it's pretty simple. A judge would look at this and say, you overstepped your boundary, and we definitely have to change this. But when you move into some of these other things that went on, it can get pretty hairy. So we'll see.
Well, before we go, I got one thing that I would like to recommend. Mm-hmm. The parade is coming up next week.
Right.
And most of you probably have been to the parade, and it's usually horrific getting a place to park. I think they ought to open up the Machinery Row site.
A lot of room for cars there.
Let people go down there and park, and that would be great.
Whatever.
So if you agree, give the city attorney a call and ask, is it legal?
Well, you know what? Now that we're doing this, we had talked about this earlier. Lifeguards at North Beach, we just had a tragedy down there, and we talk about spending money. We spent $250,000 to do an outreach on this COVID vaccine on Kane Communications, which is connected to the city, but we can't find lifeguards.
Well, but you do remember that's a county responsibility.
Well,
so
let's
we
figure it out. We can give $5,000 for incentives. You can't
Yeah.
find how many lifeguards can you buy for $5,000?
It's a good point. Come back and see us next week. We'll be here before the parade, right?
Yeah, yes, we will.
Yeah. Okay, so come back and see us. Hope you have a happy 4th of July. We'll wish you again that next week. Did I say that right?
I don't know.
And George, good job introducing the show.
My pleasure.
Okay. See you next week.